Hey everybody, this is Jason, Zombie Collector, and I want to discuss the film I watched. Actually, I introduced it to my son, Valkyrie, starring Tom Cruise. It's an all-star cast of people. He plays a gentleman named Stauffenberg, and forgive me if my German pronunciation of names might not be that great. But you have a whole list of people. You have Kenneth Branagh, you have Bill Nye, you have Tom Wilkinson, Terrence Stamp, Eddie Izzard. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in this that's very well known. Essentially, this movie's about a true story of these gentlemen here who decided to do a assassination attempt on Adolf Hitler, and I wanted to introduce that to my son because he loves history. It's always nice to have history kind of come to life and show stories that might not be told and even acknowledged in a lot of ways. Apparently, this is a story that's even of course bigger in Germany because of what they tried to accomplish with trying to assassinate Hitler. Of course, unfortunately, did not was not able to be successful, and all of them actually were caught and executed right towards the end of the war. But the story is nonetheless a very intense story, I guess you can say, because there's a whole lot of cloak and dagger going on, and everything has to go perfectly for things to transpire and like a domino effect to actually keep going. If one thing, one of the dominoes goes off track, then it can't continue and they're busted, which is essentially what has what will have happened. But you have a handful of conspirators, I think is the right word, who will, of course, realize that Germany is under attack by Hitler and the SS, and that they are trying to get enough people in higher ranks to overthrow Hitler and the SS and to take control of Germany with the actual government and the soldiers, and instill somebody or install someone in there that's going to try to right the ship because they see the atrocities going on, and they realize this is no longer about Germany protecting itself or what's best for Germany. Is becoming like, of course, like a mass murdering, sacking every nation and essentially like overtaking the world. They get that. So each one has their own purpose in it, but we follow the Tom Cruise line because he realizes more than all of them that what needs to be done, he has the most resolve, essentially, to try to see it all the way through. And he puts himself in the most precarious situations that knows that he and then his family, he has a wife and like 3 or 4 kids that will obviously all die if they find out that what he's doing. And so it's a really intense movie of, like I said, a lot of like cat and mouse games. You don't know who you can trust. You don't know if and when they're going to get caught, how they're going to get caught, what is the catalyst to get them caught, because obviously that they are not successful, because if you know history, that's not the case, unfortunately. But I don't know I don't know the whole story. I'm not going to try that like it was 100% to the letter of the reality of what had happened in that assassination attempt. But it has the I don't feel like they really glorified and Hollywood it up too much. I felt like it was pretty close to what actually transpired. So I went through and read some of the information, not just on Wikipedia, but some of the sources they used online to kind of put it together, and it felt pretty authentic. And they even have a documentary on here talking about how close it was and how they try to keep it as close to the reality as possible and not, again, try to Hollywood it up some to make it to be more of a action movie where the action and the actors took precedence over the actual story. And that's essentially it. Tom Cruise is great. I'm not a Tom Cruise fan, but he definitely knows how to act. I definitely enjoy his movies. He's very believable. The interesting thing is that there's a few times in the movie, especially at the beginning, where everyone's speaking German, they're reading German, they're writing German, and then all of a sudden all the actors just slide into speaking English. But there's German, like, still you're seeing it written and displayed in signage, but everyone speaks English. Tom Cruise has an American accent. All the British actors all have British accents. No one's trying to pretend to have a German accent. And even my son picked up on it. He goes, "But Dad, why are they speaking English? Why do they have an American accent?" And I was like, wow, a 12-year-old could figure that out. And I said, one, none of them are German. And I think it's a 2. Maybe they couldn't do good German accents. And 3, they try to establish at the beginning of the movie that this is Germany, they're German, but because they're trying to focus on maybe the better actor for the job, maybe not the best linguist or whatever for the job, then they're going to focus on the speak in English opposed to trying to do fake German accents or even try to do it in German because of that. But it was interesting that he picked up on that like pretty much immediately. But that's essentially it. And then, like I said, there's a lot of action that takes place in like certain scenes. The big thing is you have this sense of possible excitement. There's a scene in the movie where you think it actually was successful. And you see that the people who were involved, everybody has this like yellow card they like secretly hold on to. It's kind of like the reverse of the unfortunate, like the Jewish tattoo number on their arm to identify who they are, and which, obviously is atrocious. But they have this yellow card, and if you have this yellow card, that means you're part of the resistance, essentially. And everybody pulls this card out at towards the end of the movie, identifying that they're supporters of this overthrow of Hitler. And so you have this like kind of welled up sense of like, oh, thank God it's going to happen because everything's in motion. It looks good. The bomb blew up. They thought they got him. You're like, okay, here we go. And even though you still know in the back of your mind it doesn't work out the way you think, you're like, here we go. And like, so they start working from the premise that they were successful. And then, of course, it unravels and you realize that they weren't successful. And to see the dread, coming in and closing in on them as they realize that they are going to be executed, they're going to be tracked down and killed. And it's very interesting. And they, no one is, left to live in the situation. Now, of course, the children and the wives, I don't think, based on what I read, end up suffering any kind of casualties. They end up surviving. But all the people involved, all the main movers and shakers were all executed just out in the street. And that street's still there to this day. Like where they were killed in Germany by this building or wherever where they were caught, still there today. I think they said that's the only place, if I'm not mistaken, the only place there's a marker on the side of the building and like this little like I don't even want to know, like just kind of like a barricade or whatever they had still there from the 40s. That's to signify what they had tried to attempt to happen. So it's there as a reminder of there were good Germans that were going on there. Not everybody in Germany was of the mindset of what Hitler was doing. There were still plenty of people who were not going along with it and actively tried to stop it. And that was pretty powerful to see that because, even one, and this has actually happened, one of the men who were involved was like essentially like a attaché or whatever to the Tom Cruise's character Stauffenberg. He tells him point blank, right when he's getting ready to start this whole domino thing, he tells him, I'm sure I'm going to mess this up. He goes, but I am going to stop Hitler at all costs, and I'm going to do it with my life. And the only thing that's going to be done while I'm in this position is try to take down the SS or whatnot. Are you with me? And he just tells this guy he barely knows that, that's the end game. And this young soldier's like, yes, I'm with you. And so, of course, they go through the entire movie with him trying to help in whatever capacity he can help, run like roughshod against other people to try to keep the Cruise character moving forward while he's trying to, run interference or whatnot for him. And at the very end of the movie, this young kid, because, Stauffenberg, the Cruise character, I guess, supposed to be in his maybe 40s, I would assume, or 30s. So this guy's like in his early 20s, and even at a young, he wasn't indoctrinated to that point. He realized what was going on was wrong. He ends up jumping in front of the bullets that were meant for Stauffenberg to protect him, even for a shorter amount of time before it was Stauffenberg's turn in the, gallows or whatever you want to call it, to be shot there basically in the street, whatnot. And that was a pretty powerful scene because even then, he knew, they all knew they were going to die, but he threw himself in front of the Stauffenberg to shield him from the shooting. And even at the very end, you could tell his allegiance to what he thought was which was right thing to do, and sacrifice himself to protect him. So it was a pretty powerful moment, I thought. And my son, like I said, he said it was a great movie. And I think that says a lot when a 12-year-old can watch a movie about history, told through the lens of Hollywood, but when it sticks to the truth and they don't try to, not revisionist history, not Tarantino version of history, which I do enjoy, love Tarantino movies, but let's be honest, like Inglourious Basterds is not reality. But when he can watch this, I think it makes the history come to life, and he becomes more engaged in what has actually happened, and it maybe encourages young people and even us to like I said, I started researching more about this, and loved what we saw. So, anyways, guys, Valkyrie, it's been out since I think 2009, so it's been around for a while. What do you all think about it? Is it a movie you ever watched? Did you enjoy it? What are your impressions of the film? I feel like it's one that doesn't get talked a lot about. I don't really know why. It's really a good movie. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Peace. Maybe.